one of the ironic advantages of Trump having killed the supreme leader is that in 3 days he can say, well, we did what we wanted to do. We killed this guy. We killed him like a dog, whatever he'll say. And then declare victory and wrap up a war that is costing him his political base and harming his election prospects. So he can declare it a victory and walk home. Will Iran abide by that or continue to hit? We'll see about that.
This is Borzu Deragahi. I am a longtime journalist and foreign correspondent and founder of the newsletter Badlands. You can subscribe at borzou.substack.com. We are still coming to terms with the shock of the war that began on Saturday when the United States and Israel attacked Iran. The images are all over the TV and all over the internet. The shock still has not worn off for me. On Sunday, yesterday, I managed to do a rather lengthy interview with India's NewsX. Here are the highlights of that interview.
I was quite surprised, as some have mentioned, at how quickly the Iranians were able to respond. I was not at all surprised that Israel and the United States attacked. That was basically obvious for anyone who knows how the U.S. works and can smell the winds of war impending. This is basically going as I expected, except it just happened much more fast, much more quickly, and escalated much more widely in terms of the region than I expected. Already, Tel Aviv, there's fires. Tehran, there's fires. Tabriz, there's fires. There's a horrific massacre of school children in southern Iran. There's towers in Dubai and Bahrain and other parts of the Arabian Peninsula, the Gulf states being hit. There's protests in Pakistan, Iraq, etc., following the death of the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. So this has just gone from, in car commercials, we say going from 0 to 100 in 6 seconds. This has gone from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. It has accelerated very quickly in that sense.
You think that now that it has escalated, like you rightfully mentioned, do you think de-escalation will happen after this escalation that we are seeing right now? And how also do you analyze the current capacity of Iran to hit back?
We have a little bit of opacity in terms of what the Iranian capabilities are. We don't know exactly how many missiles they have in their arsenal and how well protected those are. And we don't know the U.S. determination and the Israeli determination to locate and destroy those launcher sites. That's going to be a key element to watch. Because as long as Iran has those missile launchers, they will launch missiles. The other factor, the other X factor, is the world powers. Usually when there's a war, you have world powers intervening and trying to bring about a diplomatic solution, trying to bring both sides to the table. You have right now Europe basically, except for Spain, giving Trump a green light, essentially trading there, really refusing to oppose what is by many legal experts considered an illegal war of aggression by the U.S. and Israel. They refuse to oppose it, most likely because they kind of need U.S. support for the Ukraine war. You have China kind of giving surreptitious support to the Iranians. Maybe they actually like this war. This is a way to bog the U.S. down in a conflict. And you have India basically siding with Israel at this point, or just at least being quiet instead of trying to intervene. So a lot of world powers who could be doing something are sitting on the sidelines, watching to see which way the wind blows and deciding which way they will take in the coming days.
Yes, and how do you analyze how Russia is eyeing this situation?
I think Russia would like to support Iran. I think they have given some support to Iran. They recently promised them some weapons, including surface-to-air missile launchers, handheld ones that could be used to down U.S. planes, not the most sophisticated ones, but some of them. But I think that Russia is also kind of bogged down in Ukraine very much, and it's sort of concentrated on that conflict, so it cannot provide a lot of kinetic support. I will say one thing. at the end of this, if push comes to shove, and it does appear that the Iranian regime is about to fall and is about to be wrested from the Eurasian axis that is led by China, at that point, I would expect them to intervene more forcefully.
And now bringing U.S. to conversation, how is the U.S. Iranian diaspora in U.S. Receiving this news? How is the atmosphere like among the diaspora there?
I could tell you that everyone, in the diaspora, except for a very few people, is opposed to the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. No one's going to shed any tears for him, at least not many people in the diaspora. But I think that the diaspora is also very much divided. You have these very vocal monarchists, aligned with Israel, spouting all sorts of propaganda all day long on the internet. And then you have a more quiet, subdued group of people, more on the liberal left side of the political spectrum, who are opposed to this war because they fear what will come out of it.
Now, seeing demonstrations and criticism over this, one of the criticisms that we saw earlier today was the U.S. Congress. They would be discussing this attack is valid or invalid. So what if it's invalid, like the terrorists were invalid? What happens? We cannot bring back the people who have already passed away, of course, roll back these, what has happened already in the last less than 24 hours. What do you think?
You're asking with the War Powers Resolution coming out, what's the point of it? I think the point of it, it's exclusively important to American domestic politics. It's a matter of putting, we have a big election coming up, the midterms, and this is a crucial midterm election, and this is a way of putting congressmen and senators on the record. Do you support this war or do you not? And underlying that is a very big American debate that's going on now, a kind of seismic earthquake that's taking place, loss of support for Israel. That question, do you support the war or not, is code for, are you a shill for Israel or not? That's the bottom line question that is being asked. And it's to put those senators on the spot, those congressmen on the spot, especially on the Democratic side, because there's a lot of challengers to certain senators and certain congresspeople because of their support for Israel, and they're taking money from Israel. That's really what that vote is about at this point.
How do you analyze the current trust level from Middle Eastern countries towards U.S., especially, now that some of them have even signed up for Board of Peace?
I mean, I don't think that there's really anything you could call trust. I think there's interests, and I think that the Gulf countries, they have a business interests aligned not only with the U.S., but with Trump's family members and best friends. They're making big, huge, multi-billion-dollar deals on the side. There's a lot of corruption involved there. So, I would not think of it as like a bunch of countries who are like, oh, we want peace, let's make peace together. I would think of it more as like a group of leaders of organized crime gathering together and cutting up the world together. I think that's a more realistic, even though that's kind of cynical and dark, that's a more realistic way of looking at these people and the leadership and the way they operate. So if you can imagine this group of crime leaders, do you think these guys trust each other, or they just use each other and abuse each other and toss each other into the wind when they're no longer useful to each other? It's basically a bunch of autocrats and thugs, essentially, who have very bad democracy records, who are essentially bribing their way into getting to some deals and power with Trump. As for Russia, I think Russia is playing a cynical game. On the one hand, the Russian diplomat is talking about international law. On the other hand, Russia's not doing anything. On Monday morning, oil markets will reopen, and we're going to look at the price of oil, and it's going to be, just zooming up, I don't know, maybe even double-digit percentages. Who knows? Because this is kind of an unprecedented event. Some of it has already been priced into the price of oil, and Russia is going to benefit greatly from that. They're going to be able to sell their oil, and they are an oil exporter. They're going to sell their oil on the market for even higher than they are selling it now. And so they're going to score a windfall. And so we'll see what happens after a few days when they get their cash. Maybe they'll be more willing afterward to push more substantively for an end to the conflict.
Could Reza Pahlavi, the Maryland resident who is the son of the former king of Iran, take the helm and lead Iran?
He's well known, of course. Would he be capable of leading a country like Iran? I think many people would seriously doubt it. Even the Trump administration has met with him, assessed him, and figured that he is not a suitable candidate to lead Iran. He has not been in the country for 47 years. He has not done much. He has not accomplished much in that 47 years. The other people who could be leading Iran are mostly the most competent ones are rotting inside Evin prison. That is the way the regime designed it. The regime basically identifies and has identified people who have leadership skills, charisma, intelligence, and are opposed to the regime, and then targets them as dissidents. And it has done so very effectively for many years. So I think the most credible people are locked away in storage inside the prisons of Iran.
Thank you so much for listening. This is the Badlands podcast, I guess we can call it. And please subscribe to my newsletter at borzou.substack.com. That's Borzou. Thank you for listening.